That Podcast Thing presents Home Movie Club, originally recorded October 2017. Episode 15, Ditto.
Hello and welcome to Home Movie Club, the podcast in which we take an irreverent and sometimes irrelevant look at the top grossing movies of the last 70 odd years. This time round it's 1990's Ghost, starring Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore.
I don't know about you guys, but Davey and I watched this film on Friday the 13th, and so it seems appropriately spooky that we watched a movie about a ghost.
And it's pretty close to Halloween also, at the time of recording.
We did indeed watch this film on Friday the 13th.
I watched it this morning.
I don't think that makes sense.
I watched it on Thursday the 12th. Ooh, Thursday the 12th.
No. Thursday the 12th, Saturday the 14th. Ooh.
Yep.
Well, that got derailed pretty quickly.
Sorry.
This is a 90s romantic thriller. Thankfully, more thriller than romantic in some places. But let's get opening thoughts from everybody. Opening thoughts from you, Joe, please.
I like this movie. I've always liked this movie. I used to have a thing, probably still have a thing for Patrick Swayze. And yeah, I'd forgotten that literally like the very opening sequence sort of starts out like a horror movie.
Yeah, that was weird.
I'd forgotten that part. That was weird. That was kind of cool. But yeah, the rest of the film was as I remembered, and yeah, it was still awesome.
Yes, there was definitely a jump scare on the titles at the start, which I thought was quite amusing for a film that had no real horror elements following it. Daisy, your first thoughts, opening thoughts?
Of all the supernatural comedy, crime drama, romance movies I've watched, this was the best.
And how many have you watched?
I can't think of any others that fit all categories: supernatural comedy, crime drama, romance.
So this is it now. I'm trying to think of one as well. I'm not sure you could really class this as a comedy either, really.
Oh, Whoopi Goldberg was brilliant in it. Come on.
Yeah,
do not
Whoopi
take away
Goldberg
that
was
comedy.
Definitely a comedy element, yeah.
Supernatural comedy, crime drama, romance. That's what it was. That's its genre. And it nailed that genre.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And Sammy, your opening thoughts?
I had never seen this movie before, and I thought I knew what to expect, and I didn't quite get what I expected, but that was a good thing.
What were you expecting?
I was expecting a lot more schmaltz.
Aha, you didn't know
mostly
about
schmaltz.
the comedy crime drama elements.
I didn't know any of, like, the crime stuff or whatever. I just knew that there was a ghost, and it was, like, Swayze, and he was Demi Moore's boyfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was my sort of thing, was that I had completely forgotten how young Demi Moore was.
She was so small, and I
so
swear
tiny.
I had that haircut around the same time that she had the haircut in the film.
Yeah.
Fun fact, when they cast her, she had long hair, and they did not know she was cutting her hair.
Oops. Well, it worked, so...
Yes.
It's a good
When they
look.
turned up and she had the hair, and they were like, oh, whoa, not expecting. Actually kind of works for the character. Let's roll with it.
I thought she looked super cute.
Yeah.
She did.
I thought it was a
love
great
the
look.
hair.
It was so cute.
I hadn't seen this film either, so I wasn't sure what to expect, and as Sammy said, I was expecting possibly a little bit more romance, a little bit less thrillery crime stuff.
I did wonder why you were saying that you hated it before you'd even seen it, because it's a good film.
I know the last romance I saw was Titanic, and we all know how much I loved that.
But this is not Titanic.
If you have yet to hear the Titanic episode, then go back a couple of episodes and listen to it, because, yeah, it did not go well for many of us. But this is a slightly different matter, and for one thing, it's substantially shorter. Although I did have a major problem with this film, and that is that the music for it, the refrain, is exactly the same refrain as the 1970s Battlestar Galactica music.
Oh, really?
And if you don't know what I mean, go and listen to them both. Stick them up on YouTube, because we did that last night to test it. And the do is exactly the same.
Oh, wow.
It was really, really distracting.
I've never seen the original BSG, so I would never have picked up on that.
Oh, no, because I'm old. So therefore I have.
I mean, yeah,
we watched about an hour of it last night after watching Ghost, didn't we?
We did, just to sort of purge the two from my mind, I think, so the two would not be mixed together again.
And now I have the main theme from Battlestar Galactica stuck in my head.
So we could make this a supernatural comedy, crime drama, romance in space.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, I mean, they are written by two completely separate composers.
Yes.
One was Maurice Jarre. I don't know if that's in relation to Jean-Michel Jarre or not. Probably not.
I'm
And the other
Googling
was
it.
Stu Phillips. But yes, so they are very different. But it was just the refrain, almost note for note. And I confess I am quite tone deaf, so it might have been slightly different. But in my head, it sounded the same.
It wasn't exactly the same. It wasn't. But there's definitely a similarity in terms of sort of the note business.
So yes, 1990s Ghost. Let's get into the plot of this film then. Patrick Swayze stars as Sam Wheat, who is a banker. And you can tell that due to the very egregious... I was going to say 90s fashions, but this was filmed very late 80s and released in 1990.
Yeah. There were definitely 80s suits and an 80s quiff.
Yeah.
So I went through my notes and I'd written this is very 90s, but actually it wasn't because they were filmed, it was probably 88, 89 when it was being filmed. So late 80s fashions, but yes, there was definitely suits like that happening. Patrick Swayze's character Sam is in a relationship with Molly Jensen, who is a talented potter, apparently.
Yes, but not a Harry. Not
No,
Harry
not
Potter.
a Harry Potter.
I think she's a sculptor in general rather than
Yeah, she's an artist.
purely a potter.
Yeah, I mean, we do see some of her work in its sculptures, but we also see, obviously, there's the famous scene in a minute that is the sort of the two of them making pot together.
Yeah, that happened like really early on in the movie.
Yeah, I was confused by that because I was sure that was
I thought
Patrick
he was...
Swayze.
I thought,
Spoilers,
yeah,
when he was dead as a ghost.
Yeah, I
But
thought
no,
that
apparently
too.
not.
Yeah, I was
You can't
expecting
make
it to be when
pottery
he
as
was
a ghost.
Well, this was it, and this is what confused me slightly, and I was expecting it to be a reprise later on. I will get to the bit that I thought that was in. I won't say it now because that kind of jumps right to the end. But no, apparently not.
I don't think
I
you can
just-
really say you can't do pottery as a ghost with this film, though, Joe. Because if you can't suspend your disbelief in terms of ghosts can do pottery, then you probably can't watch the movie at all.
Well, it wasn't so much that. It's just the only sort of movements for at the beginning was sort of he managed to just like flick stuff and hit stuff and
Yeah,
punch
I
stuff.
was expecting the ghost pottery to be she could kind of feel his presence around her as she was doing the potteriness, but obviously not because he was a fully corporeal, alive human being at that time.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was just a very messy scene that made me uncomfortable because of the mess.
It was pottery sex basically.
I know, but it was so messy.
Patrick Swayze
Um,
said
I
that
love doing... Sorry.
That's right. Patrick Swayze said that pottery scene was the sexiest thing he'd ever done on film.
Now, I have to say, as a person who has a lot of, sensory sensitivities and all that jazz, the feeling of, like, doing pottery, it's so smooth and nice and just a really nice feeling to work with your hands. But it's also super muddy and messy and gross and just, would get everywhere. And I just watching them, like, holding hands and getting all touchy-feely and getting it all over the place, I'm like, just go wash your hands! And then they skipped the scene where they
somehow
obviously went and washed... They somehow did, but we didn't see that, and that was really frustrating to me.
That was just really weird because it's like, and they're so into it, and then we cut to the bedroom, and they're very, very, very clean and dry.
I know, it's like
What?
clearly there had to be like a comfort break in there where they went and like thoroughly washed their, sort of hands and forearms to get all
Should we
the
just
mud and
pause
crap
the
off.
sexy times while we go and wash ourselves? Yeah, okay, and now resume sexy things. Yeah, like
with equal measures of passion. It's just, come on.
Yeah.
We have slightly missed out a bit, so we've gone straight for the sexy times, which
Of course.
isn't the first time.
Isn't that what you do?
Before we backtrack, can I give you some fun facts?
Yes.
About
Ooh,
Maurice
fun
Jarre.
fact-a-thon.
Go for it.
Composer Maurice Jarre is in fact the dad of Jean-Michel Jarre, the famous French bleepy bloopy musician. Though even though they both pursued careers in music, Maurice split up with his wife Jean-Michel's mum when little Jean-Michel was only 5 years old, and he moved to America at that point. And so Jean-Michel was in fact raised pretty much exclusively by his mum and probably wasn't that close with his dad.
Fair enough. I'm not sure the breaking up as a family is classed as a fun fact, but we'll go with that one.
It's a sad fact, but hey! Also, music. Yay!
Yep.
I'm sure Jean-Michel Jarre is a very happy man.
Shall we go back to the start of the film? Not actually the start of the podcast, but shall we just...
Okay,
Shall
we
we
had
go back
eight
to
Because we need to introduce a couple of
Yeah.
other characters that we have yet to see, although we have seen but yet to talk about. So yes, Sam is a banker. No pun intended.
Why would that be a pun?
Merchant banker
It's a-
rhymes with...
Oh.
It's rhyming slang. Yeah.
It's rhyming slang rather than pun, yeah. So Sam and Molly move into a lovely new New York apartment
Which is very cool.
in a scene that involves demolition that I'm sure is illegal in many ways, certainly not up to code, and unnecessary shirtlessness.
Yeah, seriously.
No. This
that
was
was
not
just ridiculously
unnecessary.
gratuitous, and it was like, really? Yeah.
No.
This is the introduction of the other sort of main character, who's Carl Brunner. And again, he was also shirtless, and that's the bit I think was possibly unnecessary.
Yeah, him, yeah, but no. Patrick
for
Swayze,
for reasons we'll get to
necessary
shortly.
shirtlessness.
Anyways.
So yes, we have Carl and Sam, who are friends and both bankers.
They are both
going-
bankers, yes.
They are definitely bankers.
Yes.
Carl more so. Going into work.
Carl's definitely a big banker. Yep.
A kind of amusing scene in the lift where they're discussing.
Oh, yeah, see, that was unnecessary.
But
wasn't
it
necessary,
was
but
just
did...
setting up their camaraderie, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Like how
it kind of
those
proved that those
best
two were good friends,
Yeah.
and they were having sort of. They were in a lift, a very busy lift, and they were discussing Carl's rash and how contagious his cough was.
Yeah.
And they were obviously just taking the mick, but it did show that the two of them were very good friends.
Yeah.
When we'd already seen that they were good friends because he was helping out with the demolition DIY, but I guess it
But at
also
that point,
set
he
up-
was shirtless and covered in dust, so you might not have picked up it was the same person.
Yeah.
So they're at work, they're in the bank. Sam discovers some discrepancies in a bank account.
No. You've
He's got a meeting
way
with the
ahead of
Japanese.
yourself. Yeah, he's got to speak Japanese first, and he's got to give Carl the code so that he can do the transfer.
Transfer 900,000 by 10 a.m.
Because he can't, because he's got to meet with the Japanese dudes
Who were there early, so he doesn't
who
have
are
time
early.
for that.
Yeah, so he gives
Which
Carl
is a little
the
bit
code,
coincidental.
which is the whole sort of thingy. Once he gets the code, it's like, oh, well, I can transfer this all money and stuff. So you can't skip ahead. You're missing out half the film.
Yeah, he's way away
Anyways.
from discovering discrepancies.
Yeah.
Not according to the synopsis I'm
Well,
reading, is
your
not.
Then your synopsis is wrong.
So yes, we have just after the lift, we have a scene where they both get into work and discover that a set of Japanese clients are there early. We've seen Patrick Swayze trying to speak very horrible Japanese. And then another call comes in, and another bank client. Was it, how much did we say it was?
900,000.
£900,000, dollars even. $900,000 into another account. And obviously to do that, Swayze can't do that because he's got to be in the meeting with a Japanese client. So he gives Carl, I think he said a MAC code?
Mac
Yeah,
code,
it's
yeah.
a Mac code.
Yeah.
We saw it on the computer screens later on, MAC.
Which obviously is not...
A computer address.
well, it's not what I would think of as a MAC address, no.
Exactly.
But obviously it's something that is
It's a banking thing, I'm guessing.
banking thing, possibly fictional banking thing. Who knows? So yes, the point being that he has given Carl his code, which means that pretty much
Which
Carl
he doesn't
can
think
do...
twice about giving him because
No,
he
because they're really
absolutely
good friends.
trusts him with his life, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, literally.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah. Well, mainly also because he changes it afterwards anyway, so it's
Yeah,
one
he
of
does,
those
yeah.
things that it gets changed off, and he just needs him to do him that favour.
Do we then have the money issue?
No,
Yeah.
then we
No,
get
that's the
them
next
back at
morning.
then they're at the house and they're getting the big stone angel in through the window and she's moaning
Oh,
about
yes.
his chair. And I was like, oh, the chair. Are we going to see lots of this chair later on? Is she going to be like, oh my God, and this is this chair? But no, we never saw the chair ever again.
No, this is true. It did seem to be making something of nothing. And the angel itself, although the angel was seen very briefly again, didn't seem to really,
Yeah.
I don't know, have a lot to do with it.
No, it just established that they like weird large art.
Yeah. Sam was then like, "Oh, I'm just worried because everything's so amazing in my life, and I'm just waiting for the bubble to burst."
Stop
And that's
talking,
where we all wrote
Sam.
down foreshadowing.
That is exactly when I wrote down foreshadowing. Yes, there was quite a lot of that. They were talking about plane crashes and things going wrong, and it was as subtle as a large red
Kicking
sign.
the teeth.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I'm going to die.
much like Mutiny on the Bounty, it was in the title of the film.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
It's kind
true.
of inevitable that somebody was going to be a ghost, and we knew that it was going to be the Swayze.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but that's because, well, I knew that because I'd seen the film before, but I guess it was...
Way to
more
spoiler
obvious.
yourself, Joe. Jeez, don't you
So,
do
yes.
a memory wipe before you watch it for this podcast so you can
I'm
come in
not a
fresh?
computer!
So speaking of, neither were most of the
Speak for
things they were
yourself.
using, but
Then Molly's worried in the night because he was worried, and so that's when she starts doing late night pottery.
Yes, you see, now we
yes.
have the pottery sex.
now we have pottery sex, which is wrong in every sense. I mean, the pot she was throwing was quite phallic to start off with.
I found him really annoying at the start of this scene because she's there making this really beautiful pot, and then he just comes along and like pokes it and makes it all collapse.
I know, he
I
ruined
thought it was
her
kind
nice pot. It was
Yeah.
so
Performance
rude.
issues, it happens.
Yeah. I thought it was kind of cute.
I was just annoyed at him, like, you've ruined it. Why did you do that?
Because that gives them an excuse to get all messy and-
Sexy, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and,
because,
and
you know,
make the pot
she's
together.
she's an expert artist, so she can make pots at any point, but, canoodling.
Yeah. So we have
Great
phallic
word.
pottery, followed by, in my notes, it just says boingy boingy.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Because that's unfortunately what happens.
Extremely poetic descriptor there, sweetheart. I
Yeah.
like
Whereas
it.
I wrote things like cue sensual clay fondling.
Also good.
So we have the iconic pottery scene, as you said, slightly other than we thought it was going to be, and then the cleanup and actual boingy boingy.
Which
All of
I was
which is
glad
going
that they
on.
didn't do. Like, then we just saw them, they were clean, they were in the bedroom, and then they're still wearing the same amount of clothes and collapse down on the bed. And they don't feel the need to gratuitously show us this sex that happens, obviously, afterwards. We've
boingy
had
boingy.
the build-up to it, and that's all we need.
Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
glad
it-
that,
it-
like, that was reserved enough, and I think it was that was part of the reason why this scene has become so iconic, because it wasn't overdone.
Oh, no, it wasn't gratuitous at all. It was really, really quite, yeah, as you said, well done. Sorry. Just reiterating, I agreed with your point.
So yeah, now we get the next day, and we have Carl trying to access some information on the computer. I assume because the Mac code has changed, he can't go into it. But obviously, because he knows how to use computers, he hits the monitor on the side of it to get it working. 'cause
He's a
that
banker,
always
not a
helps.
computer engineer.
I know, but as a computer engineer, just don't.
See, I wrote in my notes here, he's got a problem with his accounts. Probably because you gave your password to your mate earlier, dude, seriously. And I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
you
so
know.
there's- he's finding too much money in his account, or in an account.
Yeah, in some
for
of the
which-
client accounts, I think.
Yeah. And my notes say too much money in an account, followed by too much foreshadowing in this film.
Oh, come on.
It's not subtle in places, though, is it, Joe? You have
Is
to
it
admit
meant
that.
to be subtle? Does it have to be subtle?
No, it doesn't
No,
have to
I
be subtle.
suppose
It's a
not.
bit silly, and I don't mind that.
I take that
Yeah.
as part of the comedy aspect of the film.
So Carl comes in. Carl offers to investigate the matter. At this point, we don't know why he is being helpful, other than the fact that he is his friend. But Sam says he'll investigate himself.
And then Carl quizzes him about what exactly he's doing that evening.
Yes, I got
Really?
notes.
That-
That was like not
Subtle checking of whereabouts.
Yeah,
is like
don't
my
be
note
suspicious
says.
at all, Carl.
No.
To be fair,
Oh, so
I
where
did
are you tonight?
think that he said mum rather than Molly, and got very confused thinking that they were brothers for a brief second.
I think he
because-
said Moll, which
Yeah.
sounds a lot like Mom.
But no, the Sam and Molly are going to see a play.
Macbeth.
Macbeth. I thought it was Shakespeare, but I wasn't sure. Yes, Macbeth this evening. So They know where he's going to be.
Also has a ghost.
It does
Yes,
indeed. Actually,
indeed.
yes, it does. Good point.
Hey, I knew some Shakespeare.
There are quite a lot of ghosts in Shakespeare, to be fair.
True.
Yes.
I did just watch Hamlet last week. That also had a ghost.
It's a ghosty play. Yep.
Yeah.
That's how you classify the different Shakespeares. You know, there's the wedding plays, and then there's the ghosty
comedies,
plays,
the tragedies, the
and
ghosts,
the ghosty plays. Yep.
Mistaken identity.
You can tell the comedy plays because there's no humour in them at all.
No.
The humour may have changed over time. But...
You are incorrect.
So yes, we see Sam and Molly leaving the theatre. Sam is saying how much he liked it, which Molly agrees because you could tell that by the amount he was snoring.
Oh.
Which was,
snap.
yeah.
Did you relate there, Dave?
I quite like Shakespeare.
Oh, do you?
And I'm not allowed to fall asleep during watching these films, so... So they're walking back from the theatre, and two things struck me. Well, main thing struck me was that this is supposed to be New York, and I've never been to New York, I admit that. But it seemed awfully quiet, and there was no one
deserted.
around.
Yes, that was weird. That was weird.
That was weird. That was very foreboding, foreshadowing for what? Words.
So they're walking down this dark alley, and I wrote "crime alley?" ?
But before that, we find out that Sam never says to Molly, "I love you." He only ever says "ditto."
Yeah. So they have the whole
And
heart to
doesn't she
heart.
propose to him as well?
And I wrote, "What a douche."
Yes, I think she does propose to him at this point, and my notes say heart to heart, comma, must be murder time. And yes,
It's time to die.
yes, it is.
The tense music was building for a while there as well, which kind of gave it away.
Yeah, a little bit.
So they're walking down this darkened alley, and they're attacked by a mugger.
Yay!
Who demands the wallet from Sam. Sam fights him. There's a gunshot. The robber runs off, and Sam initially chases him before turning around and seeing the fact that actually it's his body lying on the floor.
At that point, when he was chasing down the street and we hadn't seen Molly, I thought it was Patrick Swayze that was dead in this movie, but it must be Demi Moore.
I thought that as well. No,
Yeah.
I honestly thought it was very effective because I was for a second thinking, you've seen it before though, Joe.
I didn't the first time.
I was thinking, is it? No, surely not. But yes, so he runs back to Molly and finds Molly cradling the bloodied corpse of his old body.
And then go into the light, Sam.
Yeah.
Go into the light. There's light. Go into the light.
Well, then the movie would end after 10 minutes.
Yes. Go into the light, Sam.
Oh,
So Sam gets the option. We have a beam of white light full of like God rays and that he can walk towards.
It's
and
like
would
light bits in the light. It's weird and
taken up to what we assume is heaven, because this film does kind of rely a little bit on standard westernized religions. And also he's a banker. Are they generally the sort of people who get sent up to heaven?
He was a good banker, though.
Yeah, he was a nice dude. I don't know what the exact rubric for sort of, heaven admission is, but I'm sure he did okay.
Like, he was diligent about making sure that 900,000 got transferred. He wasn't angry at the Japanese for being early in. He just took that all in his stride. And, his worst foible at this point is he ruins pottery and says ditto instead of I love you. I don't think that's things worth kicking someone out of heaven for.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, Gosh supposedly works in mysterious ways, but that's
so then I wrote in my notes, so now Molly turns
much.
into a vigilante, hell-bent on revenge for her lover's death. She dresses in a manner to terrify all criminals, and she becomes... No?
That's Kill Bill, isn't it?
That's Batman.
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 Right.
Yeah, so
I haven't seen Kill Bill.
I was kind of excited about Batman Molly, and that didn't happen. Spoiler alert,
but it was
no Batman Molly.
Yeah.
Aww.
She would have kicked ass at being Batman Molly.
Yeah, I think Bat Molly would be a great movie.
Yeah.
But of course he doesn't move
pitch
on.
that, Bat
He
Molly.
he has unfinished business. He needs to know. Why?
Well, he doesn't at that point. At that point, he's just like, oh, but Molly's over here, so I'm going to stick around.
Yeah,
She's
I think he doesn't want to leave
business.
he doesn't want to leave the love of his life, which I suspect is a fair reason,
That's
to be
pretty
honest.
fair. I'm pretty sure it was
Yeah.
right after this scene, sweetheart, that I came over and I gave you a hug and I said not to get involved in any kind of banking business or go places late at
fight
night
a
where
mugger.
there might be a
Just-
murder. Yeah.
In New York in the 1990s, yeah, I did agree not to do that in the 1990s. So yes, my next note in this is, it's worse than that, he's dead, Jim. Because we have the dead body. Molly tries to get help. Eventually, a policeman arrives and then an ambulance, and the body is rushed to the local accident emergency.
He's hanging on there, isn't he? Even though he's had the choice of the light. Presumably, if he'd gone up to the light at that point, it would have been flatline on the
That
body.
would have been game over.
Yeah.
Yarp.
Well, I don't know, because how can he be a ghost if he's not actually dead? This didn't, yeah.
No. Well, it depends what you believe in, but I mean, if you
Well, not ghosts for a start, so okay.
but it's the soul, it's the essence of the body, and you know, if that moves on, the body has no essence; it's just an empty shell. So he's hanging on, therefore, you know, still connected to life, and then you know the shell might die, and then the essence is still hanging around, and that's how you get ghosts. But you know, they're not. It's not mutually exclusive. You know, there can still be a connection. So if they'd have managed somehow magically to revive him, then he would have been fine.
I wonder what would have happened if they'd have revived him and his ghost was like across town somewhere. Would he have been like sucked back in? Or
Yeah,
would it have been like,
probably.
oh no, he's not here, and so he hasn't like recombined with his body?
But yeah, so Sam slowly realizes that he is a ghost and he can't be heard and can't be seen.
And then he
talks to a
starts
really
chatting,
nice old
with,
guy.
chatting with another ghost.
Yeah, so he gets spooking to...
Spooking. He gets spooking.
Again, spooking.
He gets speaking to another guy in the hospital.
Oh, I like
and...
spooking. He's spooking to another guy. In the
Spooking!
Unintentional typo.
Spooky,
No,
yes.
Unintentional
Spookiness.
ghost pun there, I
Slip,
like
is
it.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Halloweenian slip.
A Halloweenian slip, I like it.
So yes, he's dead. Sorry.
He's dead,
Bye.
Jim.
Yep.
But we watched someone
Apparently
else.
it isn't easy being dead, though, because, you know, you can't do a lot of things.
It's not easy being
and-
green either.
No. Well, he's not rotten just yet, so he'll get there eventually.
Gross.
And then the next big question I had was, would you go to your own funeral?
Yes.
Yeah.
Would you?
I guess.
Really?
But before we get to the funeral, he watches someone else in the hospital die, and then the light and the other ghost goes up in the light, and it's like, oh yeah, that's heaven. And he's just like, oh.
I wasn't
missed
paying attention
that.
in Sunday school. That's what I should have been doing.
Yeah.
Oh, oops.
Oops.
So yes.
And I wrote, I
Yeah.
told you should have gone into the light.
Yep. So he goes to his own funeral.
Yeah, I would totally do that.
Yeah.
Because I'm that kind of paranoid person that wants to know what people are saying.
And what else are you going to do? Like, oh, my funeral's on, I don't know, I'll go to the cinema. No, you're going to go to your funeral.
I'd have gone to the
Oh,
cinema.
you could go to the cinema anytime though, but you could like watch all the films for free.
Oh my god, that'd be so
Yes.
amazing.
That would be cool.
It's just like, so what's your unfinished business as a ghost? Oh, it's just, you know, there's still movies that I haven't had a chance to see.
Yeah.
You know, the new Thor movie's coming out. I'm not going to miss that, am I? And then they've got, you know, after that, there's Paddington 2 and... Come on, I'm not ready
There's the
to
whole
descend yet.
Fantastic Beast series that we've barely even started yet. I mean, come on.
Like, I
Stick
can't ascend
around.
until I've seen Justice League and can make a fair assessment about how meh it is.
Yeah, so that might be the one benefit of being dead is you can get into cinemas for free.
Also, you don't have to pay to get on the subway, but we're not there yet.
No.
Then
There's
he
so
then he
many
just
questions
creepily
about
hangs
jokes.
around the flat where Molly is. He's just like, oh, I'm just chilling at the flat, hanging out
Yeah.
with
I'm
my living
sad.
girlfriend. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I did right. So, you're dead. So you spend your entire time moping around the house.
Like, you could go anywhere and do anything, and you're just gonna mope.
It just felt really
because
I guess that
creepy.
stands
Love
to
of his
reason,
life
because you're
is
dead, and
not
you're probably
dead.
sad about that.
But she didn't know he was there, and it was like he was, like, voyeuristically spying on her. It was a bit creepy.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I found it creepy. Like,
That's
I'd
fine.
be creeped out, if my husband's ghost was hanging around and I didn't know he was there and he was just watching. I'd be like, that's creepy.
Perhaps he's there now. Oh no, he's not dead, is he?
He's not
Sorry,
dead.
Chris.
He's still alive. I
Mommy said
checked
hi.
just before we started recording. Still alive.
Aww.
Yeah, I do that often. I check he's still alive.
Aww.
It's a good thing to check, really.
I'm very
that's
romantic.
nice.
Yeah,
You dead? No. Right, carry on.
it's good. Yeah.
As long as you don't put yet on the end of the sentence, you're covered.
I'm getting better.
I feel happy.
So yes, Molly obviously is still distraught, and not only because there's a dead ghost haunting her house, but then look, Carl, the good guy.
Oh yeah,
comes
speaking of
round.
creepy,
Yay.
cue Carl.
Yeah. And it suggests
Yay,
Molly
that
takes a
guy.
walk with him.
Yeah.
So they go for a walk, but Sam can't bear to go with them, and also there's a thing with doors. Although he was told by the ghost in the hospital that doors aren't that bad.
No.
However, just after they leave, we have the mugger, who is the same person who murdered Sam, comes into the
The
apartment.
mugger is
with
also a
key.
burglar. A burglar
Yeah.
with a key.
So he has a key, so it's not,
a
just
burglar
breaking
if he's
in.
got a key, to be perfectly honest.
Yes, it's less breaking and entering, more just entering.
Yeah.
Still burgling if he takes something, isn't it? So.
Yeah. So he can't. Obviously, Sam being dead and a ghost can't do anything to stop him. The mugger wanders around blatantly looking for something, but while he's upstairs looking for something in their sock drawer, it looks like, Molly comes back. Obviously,
Oh,
this
no.
is a concern because Molly potentially in danger. However, Sam has realised that the thing he can interact with at this point is their cat.
Yay,
Because cats
are
can detect
awesome.
spirits. And yes, cats are awesome.
Ghost cat power, I wrote.
Yay.
Yeah. So Sam scares the cat jumps and attacks the mugger, who then flees.
Yay.
Go cat. Go cat.
So so Sam follows the mugger back to his Brooklyn apartment and learns that the man's name is Willie Lopez. who was
Handily
actually
written
sent-
on the door as he goes in. That was
Yeah, because
super
everybody
handy.
has their name on the door on the outside of their flats. And he was actually sent by an unknown party, but this wasn't just a sort of crime of convenience. He was actually set up to be mugged.
But on the way there, they go on the subway.
Yes, they do. They go via the subway.
With Angry
and-
Train Ghost, yay!
Angry Train Ghost, who looks really familiar, but no one can think why.
Yes.
We did actually look him up last night. Who else was he? What else had he been in?
Oh god, this is that guy who's been in everything.
Yeah.
He's been in everything. I no longer have the list of things that he's been... Hang on. I've got my iPad out. I'm going to bring it up. Because this is one of those guys. He's got one of those very recognizable faces that lends itself really, really well to just being a character actor. And anytime you need someone, sort of tall or with a sort of distinctive face.
Vincent Schiavelli.
Anytime you want an Angry Train Ghost.
He was one of the... If memory serves, he was one of the thugs in Batman Returns.
He was. He died at 57.
The
dear.
same age
Yeah.
Patrick Swayze died.
Sad
Oh
times.
dear.
Both died of cancer, but different kinds.
Sad times. Okay, here are some
Not
of the
a fun
things
fact,
that
but
he's
it was a
been in.
fact.
He's been in lots of things.
He was in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and he was in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and he was in Batman Returns, and he was in Tomorrow Never Dies, and...
He was in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh my god,
was
that's
Uncle
where I know
Enos.
him from too. Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
he was the gypsy uncle.
Yes.
Which is how I know him. He was also Dr. Kaufman in Tomorrow Never Dies.
So they're on the subway and Sam is attacked by another ghost. We can tell he's a ghost because he runs through one of the metal poles that you stand next to in the train and then attacks Sam.
Yeah, and the fact that you can see him and interact with him, yeah.
And more importantly, he interacts with the train itself and smashes the glass of the window.
He did the
So-
thing to the real world. Oh my god,
So
that won't
obviously
be
it is
significant
possible.
at all. Wait,
That
it was
was-
obviously going to be significant.
That was a very significant moment.
So yes, obviously there is a way for ghosts to interact with the real world. So he follows Willie, he finds out where he lives, finds out that he is hired to do the mugging.
I wonder who the person could be who he is working for.
We don't know at this point. Who could it possibly be?
There's been nobody being suspicious up to this point.
After leaving Willie's apartment, Sam happens upon the parlour of psychic Oda Mae Brown.
Yay!
Well, it was literally across the road. So
It was literally across the
That
road.
was quite
Yeah.
fortuitous.
It was Patrick Swayze who recommended Whoopi for the part because he was a great admirer of hers. And
Thank
she
you.
was perfect for this. She
Thank
is a
you,
comedy
Swayze.
genius.
She is lovely, and I love her, and she's one of my favorite characters from all of the Star Treks. And so there's
Yes.
a very special place in my heart for Ms. Goldberg.
So Swayze's character walks into the psychic parlor, but it becomes fairly clear that most of what is happening is a con.
Really
and
bad cold reading.
Yeah.
like
This
seriously
name's
bad.
significant. This one. Oh, right, we found one. We found one that works. Great. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
So yeah, Oda Mae
God.
Brown, obviously played by Whoopi Goldberg. However, it does turn out that she can hear Sam, so she can commune with the dead, but only this one dead person.
At the moment.
At this point,
Yeah.
yes.
Well, I think it's just that he's the only dead person that's actually gone in there.
Could well be, yes. Whoopi Goldberg walks into the parlour in a bright gold dress. And I put a dress that even Guinan wouldn't be seen dead in, because some of the Star Trek fashion was wild, but not that bad.
Oh, I loved Guinan's hats, though. She always had the most interesting, weird, like, space hats
Yeah.
in, like, strange shapes, but they always matched her, like, comfortable dresses.
Yeah, so it turns out that she can hear Sam. She can't see him, but she can hear Sam. And Sam convinces her to warn Molly that she is in danger.
By convinces her, you mean he torments her until she does.
Yeah.
It's true. He does. He indeed haunts her until she agrees, because he stays in her room at night singing to her very loudly.
Henry
and very
VIII.
badly.
Henry
Oh,
VIII,
Henry
I am, I
VIII,
am.
I am. Yep.
Yes, which is a fair way of doing it, I feel.
Molly obviously just hangs up when someone phones up and says, "So your dead boyfriend told me to call you." What? No. Hang up.
Hello, what? Hello.
Seriously.
Like, this is a correct reaction. I completely understand why she just hung up. But she doesn't even call back a second time. That's it. Phone once, get hung up on, and that's it. Oda Mae is just like, oh well, tried that, never mind.
Sorry, mate.
Yeah.
In fairness, she's probably a bit, what the heck? Because you would be a bit what the heck
Yeah.
Yeah.
when a ghost is
So,
talking to you.
finally manages to convince Molly that Sam is indeed talking to her, or at least
By
that she
yelling
may be.
stuff on the street that only
By
Molly
yelling
could
things
know.
that only Sam would know.
Yes.
So she kind of vaguely believes them.
Enough to go out for coffee.
And so they manage to relay Willie's address to Molly, who then gives it to Carl. Because obviously Carl is the person she trusts the most. And then she goes to the police, because that's the most sensible thing to do. Although, oddly enough, the sceptical police are sceptical of this just bereaved girl saying that her dead partner is back from the dead. I did like the fact that the police were like, we've got better things to do than that.
Yeah. Which again is an absolutely fair reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but they do convince, Molly does convince them to go and have a look, see if there is actually a report, or rather police record about Willie. But no, there isn't. However, there is one for Oda Mae, and there's a long, quite substantial one, as Oda Mae's career as a forger and a con artist. Because, shockingly, this con artist, fraudulent psychic, has done this before. So who'd have thunk it?
Well, not this specific thing, but her
No,
business
but she has a
practice
record
in general
of
is very...
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Meanwhile, Sam decides to follow Carl, and then is devastated to find that actually it's Carl who was employing Willie to do the mugging.
Although he goes from upset to angry very quickly, understandably.
Yeah, but it's sort of like, it's not exactly a shocking revelation, is it, that it's the partner that did it? So
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, there's not many people in the film at all, so,
no, this is true. It's slightly odd at this point to bring in a brand new character, so it's going to be one of the people we'd seen
Yeah.
already.
When Molly is brooding after visiting the police back in the flat, and she kind of rolls that jar that's got the lucky penny or something in it, and as soon as it bumps down one step, it just smashes into loads of pieces. And I was like, what? Glass jars don't break that easily.
Very
and
dramatic.
And then I found out.
Jar.
Then I found out, fun fact, was that it was meant to be being thrown. And it was Demi that decided that rolling it down the stairs was more in character. So obviously the glass was designed to smash after being thrown.
It would have probably been made out of that sort of cinematic
been a lot more
sugar
convincing
glass
then.
Exactly. It shatters well on screen. That's also much safer than using real glass.
Yeah. So instead it was just very unconvincing by smashing as soon as it bubbled down.
Delicate jar.
I did also notice that Carl is left-handed, so therefore must have been the bad guy.
And I said, excuse you, and I leveled a rude gesture using my left hand at my husband when he said this, because I'm left-handed, and that's not very nice.
So Sam follows Carl back to work and finds out that actually the reason that Carl is doing all of this is because he's laundering money for the drug dealers.
Yeah.
And he was
$4 million.
actually using Willie to rob Sam to get his apartment key, and then use that to get hold of Sam's passbook full of passwords.
Well, I think he was probably hoping that he had the Mac code book on him.
With him in his...
I thought it was in his wallet.
Yeah, so I think that's why he was mugging him, to get the Mac codes directly.
Yeah.
There wasn't meant... I get the distinct feeling that no one was meant to die.
No, I think this was supposed to be a fairly, bloodless killing.
Yeah, because if someone mugs you and they have a gun, don't fight. Just give them your wallet. Really.
Yeah.
That's
especially when you're a banker who probably is fairly well insured.
Yeah. It's not worth dying for, really.
No.
I also noticed that this film was indeed brought to you by Reebok.
Yes, very much so.
Yes.
That was some serious product placement.
Yes, it was.
It worked really well. I didn't notice.
It just went straight past your consciousness into your subconscious, and the next time you go shopping for shoes, you won't know why, but you feel strangely compelled to take an extra look at the Reeboks. Other brands of athletic shoe are available.
Huh.
Yeah, so they were going through... It's when the scene where they were going through Sam's bits and bobs and bits of paper, including the book that has the passcodes in it, and they were just filing them all into this shoebox that was emblazoned with Reebok all over it.
Yep.
And we saw
they
that
could have picked
box
a plain
several
box,
times.
but instead it was Reebok, all front and center for quite a long time. That has all the best things put in it, because it is the best box with the best shoes, best Reebok, best.
I thought it was just so that it was I thought it was just coloured so that it was distinctive, so they could tell that, oh no, he's accidentally taking the wrong box.
They could have done that with like a plain blue box instead of a Reebok.
Yeah,
They could have done what they sometimes do on like low budget sitcoms and cooking shows, where they just take a piece of similarly colored gaffer tape and cover the name of the product with it.
Yes.
Yeah. This week's podcast is brought to you by Reebok.
No, it's not.
I wish.
If
However,
you want to sponsor us,
if
Reebok,
Reebok
I'm
want to
open
send
to
us some
this.
free stuff, yeah. I
you
mean,
want to
I'll be
send us
honest.
money
I'm
and
not.
free shoes,
I'm not
you know.
against sponsorship. If someone wants to throw things at me, I will take them.
Likewise, I'm just going to put out there that my current personal preference is for Adidas. So if anyone is looking to sponsor the podcast, Adidas,
or anywhere
just
that
give me a
sells
shout.
movies for us to keep on actually buying these to watch, that would be helpful too. So anyway, then the creepiest scene in the whole movie happens, where Carl starts like pouring coffee on himself so he can get naked and things.
Yeah, this made me really uncomfortable. It's always made me really uncomfortable.
I hated this so much. I hated this as like a person who's uncomfortable. I can't
a really
even begin to
cringy
express
scene.
how horrific and terrible and bad this scene was.
I mean, aside from the fact that he's literally like dead a week, if that.
Yeah.
But this was also why I said initially it was unnecessary toplessness, because she has already seen him with his shirt off, and she obviously wasn't interested then. Why would she be interested now?
Because he's a guy, no offense,
Other than
Dave.
obviously she's, in a state of sort of delicateness, because...
Vulnerability.
She's vulnerable,
Yes.
so, he's taking advantage of her vulnerability. And
Yes,
thank you. That was the word I was looking for, definitely.
Yes,
Yeah.
vulnerable.
I've also in my notes it says there's always one point in a film where it seems to lose my interest and sometimes never gets it back, and with this film it was certainly when Carl was hitting on Molly, because at that point I went to do some washing up because I was like, oh.
Crucially,
dear.
Sam got so mad, he jumped at them and knocked over the picture.
Yeah.
Significant.
I obviously missed that little bit.
It was significant, because then he's
yes.
like, oh, and wait, didn't that train ghost guy smash that window as well? Wait, game changer. Game changer.
Yep.
Foreshadowing.
Yes.
At that point, we see Sam going back down to the subway, trying to go from train to train to find the other ghost.
I was expecting it to just be like, and he gets on the train, and there's the train ghost. But instead, they actually did have him have to go through quite a few train carriages to find him. So I was like, oh, they didn't go as cheesy as I thought they would. That is good.
Yeah, that would have been slightly too convenient if he was just on the first car and he was like, hey, it's you again. Get off of my patch, you stupid ghost. This is my haunting.
Exactly.
My train! My train!
Listen, you're probably new, but this is the bit that I haunt. You're gonna have to find another place to haunt, buddy. I'm American. I'm trying to do... I can't sound American.
He finds the subway ghost and faces him down and eventually convinces him to teach Sam how to actually interact with real world objects.
Train ghost is now Master Jedi.
Yay!
Yay!
He's basically the Yoda of this sort of sequence.
Yeah, and he trains for even less time than Luke Skywalker did.
It's impressive.
Yes.
But then also he's not trying to lift X-Wings out of the swamp. He is just trying to move books and things around.
Kicking a can and things.
Yeah,
bottle caps and kicking cans around.
A shoe, I think.
See, you're trying to push it with your finger. You're not going to be able to push it with your finger. You have to push it with your mind. Oh, okay, got it. There we go.
And we also saw a shot of him pushing a white sneaker off the ground, and I didn't notice whether or not that was a Reebok sneaker, but I suspect it probably was.
Oh man, I need to go back and find out whether or not that was a Reebok sneaker.
So yeah, Sam now finds how to find out how to actually interact with the real world again, or the corporeal world.
Thanks, Angry Train Ghost.
Yes, thanks, Angry Train Ghost, who goes off and we never see ever again.
He just goes around being angry on his train again.
Yeah.
My train.
For all time. My train. So he now can interact with the corporeal world. So goes back and convinces Oda May to actually help him thwart Carl, and says he knows how to do it, and they will leave her alone forever.
Is that the bit where he comes in and the room's full of ghosts? Or is
Yes.
that later?
Yeah, so he goes in, and this bit I don't think was explained either. Suddenly, all of the ghosts are there talking through Oda May. So words obviously got out in the spooky grapevine.
In the ghost world.
In the ghost world, that actually she can speak to the dead. But I don't know how that happened.
No, I don't know
He
how it
hasn't been
happened
interacting with other ghosts.
Yeah.
He's not, apart from Spooky Train Guy.
Well,
I
they
don't
heard
think
it on
he's-
the ghost vine.
Oh, that was good. That was good.
It seemed a bit... But this also was the point where we saw that actually Oda May could be inhabited by another ghost.
Possessed.
Possessed.
But also that
Foreshadowing.
it drained energy. Again,
Yeah,
foreshadowing.
but it mean the ghost was weakened. So again, foreshadowing. So
Yes, they made sure to explain that to us quite clearly. Possessed and then, weak. So it was okay. I will make a note of this. Thank you, film. I don't see this coming up ever again. Oh, wait.
yeah. So Sam persuades Oda May to help him thwart Carl by dressing up in her best outfit and going to the bank to impersonate a...
Well, first of all, the mugger guy, Willie Lopez, turns up at Oda May's place.
Yeah, there's a whole
yes.
bunch of stuff that we seem to have skipped, because you've got to have Carl getting the MAC code finally, and then having the phone call with the client that Sam overheard to know that Oda May had to go to the bank to be...
That was back when he found out that that it was all about this $4 million he was laundering for drug dealers. He watched him set up the account and everything at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, a point that said there was a point where this film lost my interest. Well, it didn't really ever get it back. So, but yes, no, there was a scene where we saw Carl creating an account for a
Rita Miller.
It was an entirely fictitious person. but transferring $4 million into that account that would then be used.
A nice
$4 million.
round $4 million. I feel like this is super easy for anyone checking the accounts to follow. Like when you're money laundering, don't you have to do it in like strange numbered chunks and things to make it so it's not obvious? Oh, hey, here's that $4 million I was laundering.
Yeah, I would suggest not doing it in round numbers.
Yeah,
certainly.
I think he's not a very good money launderer.
No. Well, I mean, to be fair, I wouldn't suggest doing it at all, because obviously it's illegal, and I wouldn't in any way, shape or form.
Well, I think it was in odd-numbered amounts, but it just ended up that when it was all transferred to this one account, which, again, he shouldn't have really done, that's when it suddenly became a nice number, because it's a lot easier to write out a check for $4 million than, $3,977,703.17.
True. I did like also that the scene where when Carl was in the bank, sort of doing his nefarious work, he called someone and asked for a number that was on the Rolodex, which in itself seems so late 80s.
Well, yes, but movies sometimes. I mean, it dated itself a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the account has been created with fraudulent money. Carl has spoken to his underworld contacts. Underworld as in criminal underworld, as opposed to dead underworld.
No, I know, but it just is like he has underworld contacts. He's just such a loser.
I think it was Willie Lopez turning up at Oda Mae's place, obviously trying to attack her, that convinces her to actually go through with this quite absurd plan. So I feel like they did actually provide good character motivation for Oda Mae there.
Yeah, I mean, she is, as a character, very selfish in many ways. She probably wouldn't have done this at all without that sort of imminent risk of danger.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a healthy sense of self-preservation is not necessarily selfish.
So Oda Mae goes into the bank and signs up, gets herself an ID card as Rita Miller.
Oh, she has fake ID as Rita Miller. She signs a signature card.
Yeah. Which, again, as a convicted fraudster and forger, that wouldn't be too difficult.
Yep.
Although
but she is now committing fraud. Yeah.
She's a fraudster and a con artist. For someone who is that, she's remarkably not very good at it. She really isn't particularly confident.
Caught for her to have that quite long criminal record. For her to have quite a long criminal record means she's been caught quite a lot.
Yes,
Yeah.
so might not be
Why
her.
she's not great at the whole not getting caught part.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Of fraud.
also, to be fair, she's also got a ghost talking to her, and she's probably still kind of freaked out, and it's probably
That's
put her off her
bound to
game.
give you a little bit of the nerves, certainly.
Yeah.
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 So she becomes, according to the bank, Rita Miller, goes in and withdraws all the money as a bank transfer.
Cashier's check.
Cashier's check.
A cashier's check, thank you, because she initially asked for it in 10s and 20s, which
I love that.
I would have liked to have seen.
That would have been
love
so much
that.
fun, though. Just like a big supermarket carrier bags filled with banknotes.
And the look
You
on the
just
guy's face
feel
when she
so,
says
like,
it.
no.
They're like, what?
I was joking.
Yeah, no,
like,
cashier's
joy,
check, obviously.
buddy. Come on.
So she gets the check with the money on it and closes the account
Just in time.
just in time, because at this point
Molly
Carl is
spots her.
No. Well, two just in times then, because Molly's there, but also it had to be done before 4:00 or whatever it was. Was it 4 or 5? And it was only just before. So Carl's about to.
Carl's up on his floor trying to desperately get the money moved to another account, and then realizes the account has been closed, which obviously it's a little bit of a panic on his side.
He was a bit stressed there, wasn't he?
Yeah,
And
he
he
was a little bit
he
stressed.
also subscribes to the school of hitting computers to make them change what they say.
Yeah.
Honestly, you know,
this
maybe one of these days it'll actually work out for them. Who knows?
Yep, maybe.
No.
It's worth continuing to try. No?
No, possibly
no.
not.
Okay.
No, because also, this film sort of it promulgates the idea that it's okay to hit computers, and it's really not.
It's not.
No,
It's not nice. They don't like it. They want
Don't
to be
abuse
As
it
a
much.
public service announcement on this podcast, can I please say here and now, do not hit your computers. It makes no difference other than hurting your hand.
And
also,
possibly
it's
damaging
more
the
likely
equipment.
to actually make the computer worse.
It will not help, no, certainly. Unless you are, like me, a fully trained professional IT person, in which case,
You've been taught how to properly.
we
hit
have
the
been
computer.
properly instructed on how to hit computers to make them work.
Yeah, there's a whole day on that when we train in this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I missed this potentially, but was there a reason why Molly was actually in the bank at that point?
Well, because her husband, her boyfriend, was a banker, and she probably had some papers to sign, or she had friends there or something. I assume that was just why.
No real reason.
We are not given a reason. It is purely
yeah.
coincidental.
Plot
Of course,
device.
there's a reason, and the reason is plot.
Yes.
So she's in the bank at the same time. She sees Oda Mae in the bank and mentions this to Carl.
So Sam manages to delay her with his paper throwing ghost powers. Yay! Putting them to good use.
Skills.
Oh yeah.
But she still talks to the weird little dude who they'd conned, and finds out, oh, actually not Oda Mae, Rita Miller, which foreshadowing, because then she tells Carl.
Does she tells Carl everything because she's an idiot? No, she's not an idiot. Carl's just evil.
Yes.
Yep, and she trusts him because he is her now deceased ex-best friend.
And they obviously hung about a lot as a three of them because he was there with
Yeah.
the helping with the demolition DIY.
Well,
Yeah,
to be
it's very
fair,
clear that they were all
they were
very good
friends.
friends.
Yeah. That's why it was so devastating.
So the previous evening's very uncomfortable hitting upon. Despite that, she agreed that Carl would see her the following evening.
Wait,
but he
you
turns
missed what
up
happens
late.
to the $4 million.
Ah, yes.
Oh
of
my
course.
god,
Yes.
this is one of the
Hey.
best things.
So they walk out of the bank with a check for $4 million and
Cashier's check. All she has to do is put her signature on it, and that cashier's check is basically cash.
Yep. However, Sam somehow manages to convince her that if she doesn't get rid of it straight away, she's in danger because they can trace it. So what he convinces her to do is write her signature on the check, so making it sort of valid and legal, and then give the check to a couple of nuns who are outside the bank raising money.
Yes.
Raising money for the homeless.
Making money for the homeless. And next up, Sister Act.
Yay!
She finally, very reluctantly, gives the check to the...
I loved that scene. See, Whoopi Goldberg is a comedy genius. I just love her in a comedy role. She does it brilliantly. That moment where she is gripping that thing so hard, and the nanny's like, "You're handing it to me, but you're not letting go." And she's like, "I'm gonna smile while I grip this so hard." Okay, you can have it.
Yep. And then she storms off in disgust, and then the nun opens the check, sees how much it's for, and then promptly faints.
Yay!
So
And then they pack up. They don't bother raising money for the rest of the day. They go and have some prosecco. It's all good.
Book a flight to Las Vegas.
Yes.
Ice cream.
Put it all on black.
Take off the fake nuns' outfits, and off they go.
Yes.
Eric Idle and Robbie Coltrane fit for life.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, so then we get the evening, and we see Carl very late visiting Molly.
No,
looking
first
very
of all, he's
distressed
alone in the
and-
office, and he's still trying to find out where this money is. And they have a weird amount of chairs in this office. It's like any extra space in this office. They've gone, great room for a chair here, and another chair here, and another chair. There's just chairs everywhere.
Okay, so
But is there a
It's
chair for
chairs
each
all the way
worker?
down.
Chair for the worker and a chair for the person who's sitting with them at the desk as a client.
No,
So,
but then there's
you know.
chairs where there's like, oh, there's a pillar here, so we'll put a chair up against that, and
Yeah.
it was weird. There was
I'm
a weird
wondering-
amount of chairs in that office.
I'm wondering if someone in the set design department was just bored and was
Yeah.
like, let's see how many chairs I can fit into this office scene and see if anyone notices that it's a weird number of chairs or if
Yeah,
they'll just let me
yeah.
get away with it.
I think the word chair has now lost all meaning.
Chair.
Well,
What
speaking
is
of
a
words,
chair?
Sam then starts playing with Carl and types "murderer" on the
Yeah,
computer.
he does.
I like
So
that.
And then he
That's
learns how to
like
do
a classic
copy-paste.
ghost thing.
Yeah.
That's classic.
Who's doing
Ghost
this?
movie.
Sam. Yeah, that was good. He's been reading some Stephen King, and he's like, yeah, I can do this creepy thing.
Yeah, I feel like he's really starting to get the haunting thing down.
Yeah. My note says, "Who you gonna call?"
Ghostbusters!
I guess.
Called Molly. That's who he goes to see. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he goes to see Molly, and Molly says that she sees Oda Mae in the bank, although she's pretending to be someone else. Does she say Rita Miller?
She
at that
does.
point?
She says
so obviously he
Rita
knows that
Miller.
name because
He set up the account.
invented her.
Yeah.
So he then realizes that Oda Mae has the check and the money. So he then, with Willie, goes to Oda Mae's place and tries to get it, but they see him coming.
But before that, it's ghost punching time.
Yay!
It's ghost punching time! The Sam punches Carl when he's trying to leave the flat. He's like, I'm gonna use my ghost fist and punch your face.
Oh yeah, because he knows now that Sam's there.
Yeah.
And he threatens to kill Molly with the knife. And
Yes.
Molly comes down, and then he says he's gonna go, but he'll be back at 11 because that's the deadline he gave Sam. And then he opens the door, and then he gets punched. That was funny.
So they go to Oda Mae's, and Oda Mae's associates, and they sisters?
Yeah, they're sisters.
So the family rush off and try and find somewhere to hide. They find rescue and sanctuary in a neighbour's apartment.
Well, they sort of push in, but the best
Yeah,
part
they don't
is,
give her a lot of choice in the
they,
matter.
they, they, in big quotes, find sanctuary.
Yeah. Someone opened the door. Yeah.
The best part is that they think that their sister's crazy just because she's talking to a white guy.
Yes.
I thought that was funny.
Yeah. Ghost Sam has a bit of a play with Oda Mae's flat by like smashing it up, and I'm thinking
He
this is
plays
a bit
with
harsh.
Willie.
Now that you're smashing
I
up.
want to find a different way of wording that, Joe.
Nope,
Yeah.
I really don't. That was intentional.
So
And then he chases him outside in front of a car, and Willie Lopez gets squished between the car and the lorry, and then we see the light come down from heaven. No, wait, we don't.
Don't know. We see dark shadows.
He
that
gets
fall
trapped
towards
between a
Willie's-
rock and a hard place.
Spectres of defeat.
Yeah.
Fun
Oh,
fact,
no.
the
Murderers go
horrific
to
sounds that
hell.
are made by those dark shadows are really the sounds of babies' cries played at extremely slow speed backwards.
That's so creepy.
What? Yeah, this was the only bit that was really sort of like bad CG.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Yeah, it looked animated and it wasn't CG. I think it was bearing in mind the quality of the.
Well,
computers
yeah,
they
I mean,
had
I
back
realise that it's old,
But-
old, but it was just like this bit was really bad.
So that really emphasised the fact that he should have gone into the light.
then. Yeah, and then that also begs the question that he has now caused the death of someone who may not be the nicest person in the world,
Yeah.
but still caused the death of. But yet he still, spoilers, manages to go into the light at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, maybe the sins of the ghost don't actually translate, and he was always going to heaven. So...
Yeah, maybe your actions as a ghost don't count against you.
That's
Yeah,
possible.
Possibly.
That would have
so
been
you
good to
could
know.
just- You know that you're going to heaven, so you can just spend ages just ghosting around and being a total douche.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
terrible. I don't think that. No,
I don't
I don't
was
make the
just-
rules.
It was a supposition.
Well, maybe murder's not such a bad thing if it's like a really terrible person that you're murdering.
As long
I
as
don't
it's
know.
someone
And you
who's
are being
going
chased
down
by him,
bad
and
way.
yeah.
I'm no expert on moral philosophy, so I probably shouldn't be having opinions about any of this.
Well,
No.
to be fair, it was more of a sort of accidental homicide because
But he did chase him into the
Yeah,
traffic.
that was quite
so-
deliberate, the whole chasing
Well, yeah,
him
but-
in front of
but
a car.
Willie couldn't see the ghost, or he was running away at this point.
He did,
and
he
things were
did
flying.
deliberately chase him into traffic.
So Willie's dead. Willie's been dragged down to the bad place.
Yay,
Yes.
bad guy dead. That's one bad guy down.
Yeah. So Sam and Oda Mae return to the apartment where they convince Molly, because Molly's now gone really skeptic and believes that Oda Mae is just a
I
con
was so
woman.
frustrated by this. Like, oh, we have to go through the convincing thing again? Like, this is the third round of convincing stuff. You know, like, oh.
But he convinces her by taking a lucky penny and...
Or taking a penny.
Taking a penny, which he calls the lucky penny, and then levitating it up the door, for which I said it's just magnets. And then away from the door and into Molly's hand, which is slightly more sort of...
Slightly more less magnets, yeah.
Yeah. Because before it could have just been magnets. However, yeah, as soon as it started actually floating in midair, okay, maybe there are ghosts.
Yeah, maybe there's something to this ghost thing. Who knows?
Yeah.
So they have a brief conversation. They call the police because they know that Carl is coming back.
Yeah, this is the first sensible thing that they've done, I think.
Well, I don't know, because they call the police. The police are probably going to think she's just crazy anyway, because they've already dismissed her once, because they obviously don't believe in ghosts.
No.
So...
But, you know, it's the right thing to do. You should always
It is
call
the
the
right
police.
thing
And then we have this really awkward, like, third wheel thing of
Oh,
Oda
God,
Mae being like, I'm just going to stand over here while having to translate what he says to you, and you're all talking about wishing you could touch each other, and, oh, okay, fine, you can possess me, and, oh, that was a thing.
Yeah, so we have this... Thankfully, they show it as Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore.
Why, thankfully?
It was hard enough to... Well, I mean, obviously, it's just weird, because at the back of my mind, I knew that was Whoopi Goldberg, and that just seemed a bit out of character for Molly as much as anything.
And for Whoopi Goldberg. Like, Whoopi Goldberg's character was not into Molly that way.
But to be fair, Whoopi Goldberg was also being possessed, so she didn't get a lot of say in the matter.
Yeah.
No, she volunteered.
And Molly was not into Oda Mae that way.
No. But we take it that Molly accepts that this is Sam doing the
and you can
possessing.
tell that it's all good and fine because Unchained Melody is playing again like it was during the sexy pottery time.
Yep.
Yep.
Because that's their song, I guess.
Because you've got to have a hit song
it's
to go along with your movie.
Was it just the 90s thing to have sort of...
Yeah, I think that was very
Isley
much a
Brothers and
90s
Righteous
thing.
Brothers
Yeah.
sort of-
And maybe it was this
'cause,
film that started that, I'm not sure.
Well, I know Top Gun did it as well, but I
yeah.
can't remember if Top Gun was poor
That was
after
80s.
this. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
so
Top
this-
Gun definitely also used the same sort of musical
Yeah.
stylings.
But the possession spell gets broken, thank goodness.
By Carl breaking into the apartment.
Yeah.
But possession tires you out. Oh no.
Yeah, Sam,
'Cause he
too
can't
exhausted to
punch
fight.
him. Yeah.
No. So the women run to the fire escape.
They escape via the fire escape before Carl comes in, but they accidentally clank, so he knows that because he rushes in and he doesn't know where they are, he's looking for them. And they accidentally clank, and then he goes to the window and sees them escaping up the fire escape. They go in the window to the apartment above, and they see the ladder up the side of the wall, and then there's a ladder, and then they climb up into the rafters, pull up the ladder as Carl comes in.
That was pretty smart because I thought they were going to like push the ladder down and then of course he'd just be able to grab it.
No,
and
no,
put
no,
it
that
up.
was
But
incredible.
no, they
I mean,
pulled
they're
it
really
up.
smart.
They were smart.
Really smart ladies. And then they sort of go across the rafters as he's underneath. He has a gun. He could have just shot them at this point. And then they go up the ladder, and then he gets boxes and climbs on them, and then he grabs Oda Mae.
Right. End result is that Oda Mae is being held at gunpoint, demanding the check off her because he still believes that she has the money.
In
even
all
though
this
she's
time,
given it
though,
away
Sam's
to
been getting
nuns.
his energy back.
He has. He's been recovering. He's been quaffing the Red Bull. Other energy drinks are available. And then attacks Carl. He saves her. He saves Oda Mae by pushing her off, but then Carl grabs hold of Molly and takes Molly hostage, pleading with
course.
Sam for the check. However, Sam just, I guess, punches the gun out of his hand.
Yeah, we don't see that part. We just see the gun moving.
Yeah, and attacks him, and Carl tries to escape through a window.
Well, first of all, he pushes this gigantic heavy hook for no reason at all that starts swinging wildly around.
Yeah, I think he was trying to skewer the ghost. That's how it read to me. He was trying to skewer the
I
ghost.
guess he's not thinking straight at this point.
No.
No, he's just trying to
probably
fend off this invisible sort of ghostly
Yeah.
apparition. Although, can you be an apparition if you're invisible? Probably not.
No.
No.
One to think of. So he swings the hook back, and it swings back and smashes the window above him, and the glass shatters, and a large chunk slides down, and impales Carl.
So Carl kind of kills himself with his own dumbassery.
He does. And there was quite a lot of, well, not a lot of blood, but there was definitely blood at that point, which was a little bit gory.
Yeah,
but then the light comes down from heaven to, oh wait, no! He's a bad guy.
We have more bad animated...
horrific, slow playing baby cries backwards. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's even worse at animated.
Pulling Carl down to the bad
I have
place.
a fun fact about the chase scene. That chase scene that they had just there, it was in New York. It was at night. It was really cold. Everyone else was getting bundled up, but Patrick Swayze's a ghost, so he wasn't bundled up. But his breath was showing, like anyone else's would be. But he's a ghost, so they couldn't have his breath showing. So they've already got him in a flimsy shirt while everyone else is all bundled up. So what do? They make him chew ice cubes to stop his breath from showing. Bless him.
Oh, that's harsh.
Yeah.
That's commitment.
It is.
I mean, these days they're just CGI out, but that's
back in the days they had to do actual physical problem solving.
That's really cool, though.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
In fact, quite cold.
Ooh.
So the bad guys are dead and they've all been dragged down to the bad place. And so Sam asks Oda if Molly's all right, but miraculously, for no obvious reason, Molly can now hear him.
What?
Because the light appears.
I did not get that at all. Like, what?
Well, the light appears.
But the light appears after he's spoken to her initially.
Yeah, but it's starting to appear, which is why he's starting to appear to her.
And then she can see him as well. Yeah, I was just like, what?
Well, then Oda Mae can see him as well.
And then the longest scene in the world happens.
It's time for Sam to make his way...
To move on.
Go into the light,
and
Sam.
to walk into the light and be taken away. Despite his murderous rage earlier. He still qualifies for the
They're
good
bad
place.
people, you know. What you gonna do?
It was self-defense. Or defense of others.
I'm not sure chasing someone into traffic really counts as self-defense.
So Molly gives him a goodbye kiss.
Weird ghost kiss. That was weird.
Weird ghost kiss, and then Sam thanks Oda Mae for her help.
Sam never says thank you to Oda Mae. In this whole film,
Doesn't he?
never thanks her.
I thought he did at the very end.
No, I wrote here specifically. He doesn't say thank you to her. I was like waiting for him to say thank you, and then he didn't. He's a douche.
I think he says it without words.
He was
says,
too hung up on telling Molly that I love you instead of Ditto that he forgot to actually say, so thanks, I completely ruined your life here, Oda Mae, but you helped us out there, thanks very much.
But no, he has a scene with Oda Mae. Those gratitudes conveyed. It's just, sort of subtle and wordless without him actually saying thank you.
Okay, well, I think it needed the words.
The words do help at times. But he walks into the light and then onwards into, the sort of traditional glowing white where there's sort of ghostly figures who surround him and welcome him to...
This whole scene takes about 3 hours.
Yeah, it does seem to be quite a slow scene and sort of this is the end of the film, but it does come to a slightly juddering
I would have
stop
liked
there.
this film a lot more. I would have left the end of the film feeling a lot more positive about this film if they'd spent half the amount of time on that scene at the end.
Yeah. It didn't wreck
was meant
it for
to be
me, but it was a little bit
poignant.
longer than it needed to be, I feel.
It's not like the end of Force Awakens where, it's like, oh my god, just take the lightsaber.
No, that does seem
We'll
to
be
go on.
covering that in a future
No
podcast.
arguments on that one. How many times can you orbit a camera around these two people before they do anything?
Reportedly, it took months for Jerry Zucker and Bruce Joel Rubin to come up with Sam's last line in the film. Can you remember what that line was?
Well, it wasn't Ditto.
It wasn't Ditto. It took them months to come up with this, and it was awful.
What was it? Because I don't actually remember.
He said, "It's amazing, Molly. The love inside. You take it with you. See ya."
Oh yeah,
it should have been Ditto. It really should have been Ditto.
That was honestly terrible.
It was
That line
so
was
bad,
honestly
and that took them months to come up with. Really? Oh God, it was so bad. It was just
Yeah,
like the
no, that is
cheesiest line.
crap
That
line.
yeah.
It should have ended after Ditto.
Yeah.
That should have been the last
The,
word.
Yeah.
the film ends and we get more Battlestar Galactica music, and that's a wrap, ladies and
So
gentlemen.
Patrick Swayze said that Sam Wheat was the hardest role he ever played in his career because he had to be an observer to the action rather than a participant. And it was because of that very reason that Bruce Willis had said he wasn't interested in the role, who was at the time married to Demi Moore, so there would have been
Indeed.
chemistry between the characters. He said he didn't want to because he would have been an observer rather than a participant. Of course, he did go on to play a ghost in a film after that.
Ah,
No spoilers.
Oh, wait,
No
the
spoilers.
spoiler.
I didn't mention the film.
I did notice.
This is true.
No.
That could be any movie in which
Exactly.
he maybe plays a ghost.
Yes.
Now you're going to go forward watching every movie with Bruce Willis in it and trying to figure out whether or not he's a ghost
Yes.
in it.
Fifth Element. There you go.
Oh, I
ruined it
can't
for
believe you
everyone.
just
Hey!
said that.
I can't
I did
believe
notice that Patrick Swayze was they were very deliberate to have him not using things like banisters and going downstairs and things like that, and also sort of not interacting with people as he was there. Obviously, they wanted to keep the budget down as much as possible, so there wasn't a lot of unnecessary walking through people and walking through objects.
Yeah, that's very.
I
I
did
mean,
notice that
you
was
do.
going.
You have to play it very differently in order to not interact with things and people as you naturally would do. So,
Absolutely.
I've got a not a fun fact, but an oh for goodness sake fact.
Do go on.
Go on.
At theatrical showings in I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong, Monterrey, Mexico.
No, you
No,
did it
sounds right.
perfectly well.
Yay.
Yep.
I've got some Spanish to come, so that's not going to go well. Women in the audience were given envelopes marked "Solo para which means for women only. So that's just substitute in what I was trying to butcher for women only, containing tissues. Because obviously all the women and none of the men are going to cry at this movie. So
Seriously?
tissues for women
Yes.
only. Yeah, you see why
That
this
does
was
seem
an
quite
oh for
bad.
goodness sake fact. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
That is
definitely
absolutely an oh for goodness sake fact.
Yes.
I am mad.
Yeah,
Sort of
I
in
was really
hindsight
mad when I
about
read that.
fact.
Were those tissues sponsored by Reebok?
Probably.
asking.
I think we can just assume they were. Final fact for you: death count in this movie 4, ghost count 20.
Nice. So who are the four then? You've got obviously Patrick Swayze's character. You've got
Carl,
the...
Willie
Guy in the
Lopez, and
hospital.
the guy in the hospital.
Yes, because we don't see in the hospital. There's the scene where he's talking to the old guy, and he is waiting for his wife to
Join him.
move on.
Yep.
But we
No, we
don't
don't
see
see
that,
that.
do we? He just disappears. So yeah,
4.
4. Okay,
Death count 4.
a death count of 4. One of the lower
Yeah,
ones.
and a
we've
ghost
had.
count of 20.
Not the lowest, because I suspect one of the Disney films will
Yes.
be the lowest. But
Oh, I do have another fun fact. Well, it's not so much a fun fact, but more of a observation of the time. That romance films weren't really big at the box office, and yet Ghost was the highest grossing of the year, and this was the same year that we had Pretty Woman come out as well and do very, very, very well at the box office. And it was
Wow.
those two films in 1990 doing so well at the box office that kind of reinvigorated the romance film market.
so what we're saying is we could have been watching Pretty Woman and not Ghost.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I think we got the better deal there.
I think so too, because this wasn't just a romance film and it had no hookers. It was a supernatural comedy crime drama romance. I
Indeed.
mean, what do you want from your romance?
Let's get some final thoughts. Sammy, final thoughts.
It was honestly better than I thought it was going to be. It was silly, but it was generally, I think, an enjoyable kind of silly. And I did not dislike this movie at all. I would give it a solid 7 out of 10 for sure.
Good, excellent. Daisy?
I think if you were going to see this movie because you wanted to watch a romance film, you might well have been disappointed because there was very little romance in it for what is kind of billed as a romance film. And I like my romances that way. So, yeah, it was a lot better than I was anticipating it being.
Good. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what I was necessarily anticipating. I was bored through some of it, but I didn't hate it in any way, shape, or form. and some of it I actually genuinely enjoyed. So that was a pleasant surprise, certainly, because I think in my head I got it that I was going to hate this film and it was going to be a disaster.
You did a bit, yeah.
And it really, really wasn't. So that's good. And finally, Joe, final thoughts.
I really like the films around about this time because they don't make me angry.
Great.
They're like a lot of the old ones we've been watching. They're so bleeding sexist. It's just painful. I mean, this one had some, uncomfortable moments in, but Demi Moore doesn't have to, get out her boobs, and Whoopi Goldberg is just amazing. But, it's a really good, solid film that doesn't rely on tropes. Well, not any obvious tropes, but it doesn't rely on tropes or sex or whatever to make it a good film.
It could easily have been Molly being a damsel in distress and needing to be rescued by a man,
Exactly.
and it never went that way. Yeah,
and this is why I love this era of films. There are just so many good films around about this time, and it's just solid film. It's I've forgotten how much I loved it when I watched it again. That I wasn't even. Yeah, it was just one of those films. It was like Cinderella. I was really happy to watch it.
Aww.
And I really enjoyed it. And I didn't need distracting by games or what have you. And yeah.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And as I said, I didn't hate it anywhere near as much as I thought. I didn't hate it. I mean, I'll be honest. I thought I was going to, and I didn't. I thought it was okay.
I did wonder why you were so against it. But
I think I built it up in my head that it was something that it wasn't. And again, it's...
Yeah. That it was a romance.
It was,
it
was what you expect from it.
A lot more sort of romance than it was, because that's kind of how it's been billed in popular culture. And even that thing you mentioned about giving tissues to the sort of female audience members with penis on it. It's just
exactly.
But that's not what it was.
Yeah,
it was it was a dude who died and then had to solve his own murder.
It was a love story,
with a bit of a love
but
story
it wasn't...
in it, but that's not the only thing that it was.
Yeah, it was a love story, a ghost story, but it was a story about betrayal. It was a story about friendship, and it was comedic as well. It had those elements in it. It wasn't just one thing. It was
a supernatural comedy, crime drama romance.
Yes, exactly.
Unlike the next film which we are watching, which will be 20 years earlier, and 1970s Airport.
Can I return to Ghost momentarily? I think one of the things that I thought about in hindsight after watching Ghost was the fact that the highest grossing movies for each year, we've definitely had a kind of two categories. They've either been lots of action in them, or they've been a kids movie, and a romance didn't fit into either of those categories. So in hindsight, I'm not surprised this actually had a lot of action in it, and I understand more then why it was the highest grossing movie of the year. So I think kind of going into it, my expectations should have been a bit more modified on the knowledge of what we've been experiencing so far with the highest grossing movies and what we've learnt from that. So
yes, thank you for listening. That was indeed Ghost. Spooky. And next time we will be watching Airport 1970. I would like to thank you all for listening. I, of course, would also like to thank my fellow podcasters. Thank you, Joe.
Yes, thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you, Daisy.
Ditto.
And thank you, Sammy.
Boo.
Boo, indeed. Or possibly do.
And thank you, Dave.
Thank you all. Thank you all for listening.
Dave.
And we will be back in a couple of weeks' time for Airport. But until then, goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Home Movie Club, part of the That Podcasting Network. Find us on Twitter at podcast_thing and on Facebook by searching for That Podcast Thing. Please like and subscribe for news of our future episodes coming soon.